We are here with Gustavo Torres. He is the owner of A Better Solution here, and we are now going to be talking about one of his services towards basically 24-hour home care. And so it's really great to have you guys. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, Sophia. Glad to be here with you this morning. I think that's a great topic, 24-hour home care. You know,
I know.
much needed, but we're gonna dive into that and I'll give you some of my insight on how we manage that.
Awesome, awesome. Well, I'm excited to get started. There are definitely not a lot of questions within this specific service, so I'm excited to get started. But first of all, can you tell us what exactly does 24 home care mean for your clients? And if you can mention what types of daily needs does your team typically address within this service?
Yeah, 24-hour home care, what it means to our clients. Wow, that's a great question. It can mean a whole lot of things, anywhere from mainly a peace of mind
Mm-hmm.
for the families, knowing that there's going to be someone with them around the clock. It could also mean freedom for family members from not having to participate in the care. They could go to work, they could kind of have a social life, a life for themselves. It means, once again, changing hats from being a family caregiver to maybe somebody that could just be a son, a daughter, or a family member to their loved one, because all the other needs are taken care of them. So 24-hour care really encompasses a lot and can do a whole lot for families.
Nice, nice. Well, thank you so much for that information. I do think um, it's essential knowing when someone needs someone with them a whole day rather
Mhm.
than any just moments of the day. So how can you know for sure that a client needs 24-hour care versus just like part-time care?
Well, they'll find out a couple of ways. One way is that they might have had something, because something big happened in their lives, where maybe they went to the hospital, they broke a hip, maybe they had knee replacement, maybe they had both of their knees replaced. Maybe they were wandering from their house and got in an accident, and they go to the hospital, and then the hospital will help them get back on their feet, but with a discharge plan may recommend 24-hour care, right? And it could be for just the first week, 2 month, till they get back on their feet if they're able to. Or if they have dementia, they may just say, hey, sit down with the family and say, we believe after your mom gets discharged from the hospital, to keep her out of the hospital or to keep her safe, we do recommend 24-hour care. That's one way. The other way is that the family already knows the value and what it would be like to have somebody with their parent. And they're thinking ahead of time of what it would look like. But they could also discover, things that they key in on. Maybe mom losing her keys, mom
Mhm.
wandering off, mom driving and getting
Yeah.
lost, or mom leaving the stove on. Things like this, or falls during the night. Things like this will trigger a conversation with them to say, hey, what's out there and what can we do? I feel like we need someone with mom all the time. So those are different ways people could kind of wrap their brain around what 24-hour care is and if they need it.
Awesome. Awesome. Really great information there. And for that type of care, what training or certifications or qualifications are needed from a caregiver to be part of, or so they are suited for that type of care?
Yeah, that might vary from state to state depending on state regulations, but 24-hour care could be either hands-on care 24/7, where the client maybe needs help ambulating, going to the restroom, incontinence care, um, might have to change their adult diapers and turn
Mm-hmm.
them. And if that's the case, we want to really make sure a CNA or certified professionals in the house with them. But if the care could also be just 24-hour companion care, right? That someone's with them 24 hours. They know that they're getting good meals, they're having good conversations, they're not wandering from their home, and that the loved one could actually do a lot of things independently. Then maybe you would have a team of caregivers in there that aren't certified, or it could even be a mix, right? Maybe they sleep all through the night, and we just want a companion caregiver to be with them during the night. but during the day when they're more active, we could have a hands-on CNA with them. So yeah, it
Gotcha.
could vary. And obviously when we approach home care, we don't approach it like it's cookie cutter, right?
Mhm.
Everybody's care and everybody's story and what goes on in their homes is all different. So of course, every care plan has to be tailored to what their goals are, what goes on in their homes, and how we could care for them correctly. So yeah, it could be a mix.
Nice, nice. It's good to know that because, like you mentioned, and everyone is going to have different needs. So it's good to know that you kind of work with the family for what they are needing. And
Mhm.
so, within that same topic, what would you say is the onboarding process for that type of care? Is there anything different from your assessment for other type of care, or do you come up with 24-hour care needed before they even know that they need the 24-hour care?
Yeah, and it all depends on the situation. I think a good assessment covers all of it, whether it's a 4-hour shift or 24-hour shift. We're all looking for the same things, right?
Correct.
Um, Schedule, what they need done, safety of the home, um, medication, who their doctors are, the whole gamut of information we're going to need for a 4-hour client. We're also going to need for a 24-hour client. But 24-hour clients come to us in different ways, right? There's a
Mhm.
family that planned it out. We already spoke about them, right? And it's
Mhm.
just a matter of time and they engage with us, or they come from the hospital. But sometimes it could be planned and sometimes it could be emergent, right? When it's an emergent, a good home care agency will have something in place for emergency calls like this, right? They
Yeah.
might have a team. I'm not going to call them a B team, but they'll have a team on the wings that work together in 24-hour clients. So like for us, if we
Mhm.
get a call right now, we have a team in place to go serve them immediately. Will those
Nice.
team members change after a few days after we get started? Yeah, because of scheduling or maybe client needs, or maybe even a preference on what type of caregiver or the personality the client wants, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but if it's something where we have time and they're like, hey, we're planning on doing this within the next month or so, we'd like to get signed up on services, then we have a little bit longer to kind of um, to work together to get that perfect team built. So there's emergent and then there's
Mhm.
planned, right? And then there
Yeah.
might be something right in between where we don't have to start today, but you know, a family member is going to be leaving on Monday and we'd like to have
Yeah.
something in place by Tuesday or something like that. So
Gotcha.
a good home care company will have all that covered from emergent to planned for getting those services started.
Nice, nice. Well, in your experience, do you have any testimonies or any stories you want to tell about the biggest benefits of getting the 24-hour care out of, those family members that you mentioned that free up a little bit of their personal life after getting the 24-hour care?
Oh yeah, we've you know, when you're doing home care right, families really feel the impact of that, right?
Yeah.
And worrying about an elderly parent is enough, but having to care for them is a lot, and it's heavy.
Yeah.
And once we could lighten the load, I feel like families really cherish being able to have a good home care agency. I've had
Mhm.
um, I've had families call me personally and say thank you again. I get my time back with my kids, right? Because we're
Yeah.
like just me, the sandwich generation, right? I got into
Mhm.
this field because mom and dad needed help,
Mhm.
and my I'm raising my kids. So once we're able to take that, I don't want to call it a burden. Let's just say that job away from them, so they
Yeah.
could focus on their children, their
Yeah.
jobs, and just be the daughter and son that we talked about earlier with their families. I get cool calls like that all the time. So um I don't really have like a super duper story on the top of my head right now, but I like the feedback that I get when we really start gelling, taking care of families, and the consistencies there, and it frees up people. So
Nice. Well, that's awesome to hear. I know you guys are doing a great job at this service and all of the services that you guys provide. Are there any common misconceptions that you want to address with this type of care? Any questions that you usually get, or any extra thing that you want to mention regarding this service?
Well, yeah. So I know you were talking about like, you know, family feedback and success stories. I do have a story
Hmm.
um, about a client that was coming home from hospice and they had given her a couple weeks to live, and we were doing 24-hour care with her. And this client lived by herself for years. And family would stop by here and there. But once she got discharged to the hospital and went home on hospice, she was really able to connect with our caregiving team that we got in there. And she ended up being 24-hour care with us for over 3 years. So she didn't pass. She got a second chance on just living and enjoying and having quality of her life for years after they sent her home to pass away.
Wow.
So yeah, that was really cool. And it's just, one thing people, I like to tell people when they get into this industry or they do have 24-hour care with their parents, that team that's with them almost
Mhm.
becomes like family with them for sure. And I've had clients pass away where I had to bring in counseling for my caregivers
Wow.
afterwards. Yeah, because they were so close to the client. We were all so close and just devastated. We
Yeah.
know not,
Yeah.
if first of all, number one, I wish seniors didn't need my service, right?
Yes.
And two, I wish they all lived forever. But
Yes.
since I'm not a genie and I can't grant those wishes, I could put together a good team of loving caregivers to go in there and care for
Right.
them. Is it going to
Mhm.
be perfect? No. Does it take time to find a way to orchestrate it so everybody is on the same page? Sometimes that takes time, but once it gets going and it's smooth, we see clients' quality of life skyrocket, and the time
Mhm.
that they're with us increase too. So I think it's a win-win.
Yeah, for sure. It's an awesome story. Thank you so much for sharing. I think that basically covers pretty much everything that you guys do, that you offer, and the success that's behind that type of service with families and the ones that you're taking care of. So, is there any other thing you want to mention before we wrap this up today?
Oh no, I think some of the good thing is to get into is how's it paid for, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the number one thing. Usually families that could afford our service have planned ahead of time. They
Yeah.
have long-term care insurance or some type of rider in their life insurance policy to be able to provide little extra funding for that.
Yeah.
But also, there's 24-hour care could be a mix. It could be long-term care insurance with some private pay and some
Okay.
type of other benefit like VA benefit on top of that. So, um,
Okay.
how it comes about, usually it's families that planned ahead
Yeah.
are the ones that really are really successful in that. I feel like
Yeah.
the average family might not be able to pay for 24-hour care, or if they can,
Mhm.
it's for short term until they figure out something else. Maybe
Correct.
maybe until they could get into an assisted living or get into a memory care, which is less expensive. And I don't want to say the quality is probably not going to be there. But
Mhm.
then again, when families are in assisted livings, the caregiver to client ratio is different,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
This is one-on-one care. This is,
Yes.
let me get you a cup of tea.
Hmm.
Here's your butter and toast that you like every morning at 10. you know
Hmm.
let's play cards together, whatever it entails. It's one-on-one, and I feel like it's a lot better and people thrive. I've seen people in our care in conjunction with a good hospice company or a home health company.
Hmm.
I've seen them thrive. And then I've also seen families want to transition to assisted livings, nursing homes, or memory cares, and then that's when the quality of their life diminishes a little bit, and then we might lose
Yeah.
that. So I feel like if you could just keep someone where they're at for as long as you can, that's the best
Yeah.
thing. Sure.
Yeah. Everything in the comfort of your home. That's the best way to go for it. And like you mentioned, being personalized for the actual needs that they have, and that there's like that one-on-one connection, and that you take the time of, actually putting someone, a caregiver that not only it does good work, but that they are emotionally, um, attached, or that they can find that relationship with their client where it's so nice that at the end, you're like you mentioned with that story, that there's a lot more than a job in between, but it's more of a relationship. So that's
Yeah.
awesome to hear.
Well, I don't know how you are with time, but I could dive into a little more specifics on what like a good 24-hour home care team looks like, right?
Yeah,
So
go for it.
you have your regular clients where you're with them for 8 hours a day,
Mhm.
maybe have a couple shifts, 16 hours a day. But once you get into that 24-hour care,
Yeah.
it's in some states, it's not just one person or a live-in, it's a team effort, right? And you're
Yes.
covering 168 hours a week, 40 hours of caregivers like, and backup caregivers and vacation days and stuff like that. You really
Yeah.
got to know how to put together a team for this client, right?
Mhm.
And how care may overlap. So
Mhm.
caregivers could tie in and find out how the day went or take really good notes. The communication has to be way better.
Yeah.
How they work together has to be way better. You can't leave a 24-hour client alone. So you have to have flexible caregivers that could work with somebody if they get a flat tire,
Mhm.
if they're sick, if we have to find a backup caregiver. So it's
Yeah.
more of it's two things. It's a let me see how it's a you have to have a caregiver that's really qualified to do what they do and on
Mhm.
time and punctual. But at the
Mhm.
same time, they have to be a little bit lenient just in
Yeah.
case things happen, right? And then
Yeah.
and sometimes it's easier to find a matching caregiver for a client that's 4 to 8 hours a day than it
Mhm.
is, 5 caregivers for a 24-hour client, right?
Yeah.
So
Correct.
yeah, so it's very involved, and we're blessed to have pretty good 24-hour teams. We keep them as
Yeah.
teams, and they go from one client to another. We have a startup team, and then we have a full-time team, and sometimes we mix those two. So yeah, you got to have it's all hands on deck, and everybody's
Yeah.
got to be ready. If I have to go in and sit with the client for the full 4 hours, I'll do it. We want to make sure that the client has coverage and we get a team together. I've done it
Yeah.
once, but we have pretty good team that could jump right in there.
Nice. It's good to hear that you're all hands on deck, like you mentioned, and that when the time comes, because you mentioned you have both types of, those planned and those, random things that happen one day, and the next day you need that type of care, and that your team either is ready for that, or that you guys have the heart of stepping in if needed, and then, figuring that out as you go. And as long as, your client has the care that they need. So it's really
Yeah,
great to hear that story, and that that's basically your core as a company is taking care of your client,
yeah, that's
no
for
matter
sure,
what, no
for
matter
sure.
what. So yeah, that's awesome. I think those are all of my main questions for today. Do you have any other thing you would want to talk about, or tell, to anyone looking for this type of care, or thinking about it for, like you mentioned, planning for the future,
Yeah.
if needed with their parents or grandparents or anyone like that, any message for those?
Yeah, just planning ahead, taking a look, maybe a 5 year glimpse at
Yeah.
what your loved one may need within the next 5 years is probably good. It gives you time to save. It gives you time to
Yeah.
talk to your family about it. It takes time to vet a good home care agency, and what you're looking for in a home care agency when you vet them is, you
Yeah.
know, you're looking for, are they licensed? Are they insured? Are they bonded?
Hmm.
Have they had any other 24-hour care cases? Do you have references from 24-hour
Hmm.
clients or the family members? These
Yeah.
are all important things to look at when choosing a home care agency for 24-hour. And finding out if you have other payer sources, or getting
Yeah.
long-term care insurance early and making sure that it has enough to supplement that care,
Correct. Well, those
which could be a
that's
topic for another day, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
we have a lot of it involved in just this one service. And I know that there's a lot more we can talk about, but for now, I really appreciate you answering all of our questions. I know our audience is gonna love listening to these stories and listening to what you guys bring as a team, and I'm really excited to continue this series. Thank you so much, guys, for your time, and we'll see you in the next
Okay. Thank you, Sophia. Bye, everybody.
one. Thank you. Bye. And so I'll just stop recording now.